There are moments in life when it feels like the world is crumbling around you. When your heart breaks, when trust is betrayed, and when you must rise for those you love, even as you're bleeding inside. I once stood on a rooftop, tears streaming down my face, certain I'd never find light again. But in that darkness, I discovered strength, not just for myself, but for my two little girls, my entire world. This is our story, a journey from heartbreak to hard-earned happiness, forged through tears and resilience. If you've ever fought to hold your family together or rebuilt after loss, I hope this story touches your heart. Join me as we walk this path together.
I once believed my family was a perfect picture. 10 years of marriage, 2 beautiful daughters, Emily 16, sharp and sensitive, and Gabby 8, innocent and full of love. But that picture shattered when I discovered my husband's affair with a college freshman, barely older than our marriage. The betrayal cut deep, but his cruel words hurt even more. He mocked my appearance, blamed me for his choices. Night after night, I wrestled with self-doubt, wondering how I'd survive. Yet for Emily and Gabby, I had to be strong. The divorce wasn't just legal paperwork. It was months of hiding tears so my girls wouldn't see their mother break. Emily was old enough to understand her father's betrayal, and her anger built a wall he couldn't breach. Gabby, too young to grasp the truth, still adored him, her eyes sparkling when he came to pick her up. Though he was a terrible husband, I'll admit, he tried to be a decent father at first. He'd take them to the park, buy Gabby ice cream, show up for Emily's school events. It wasn't enough for Emily, but Gabby's love for him made co-parenting bearable, yet agonizing. We settled on a custody schedule, Tuesdays through Thursdays with him, Fridays through Mondays with me. Each drop-off felt like losing a piece of my heart, wondering what he'd say or do. Emily grew quieter, her teenage spark dimming. Gabby would chatter about her dad, but I noticed her clinging to me longer each time. Co-parenting was a tightrope balancing their love for him with my need to protect them. Then came a day that changed everything. The same day my ex married his affair partner, I felt the world mocking my pain. I fled to my office rooftop to cry alone, broken. That's when Ben appeared, a coworker I'd barely noticed. He didn't offer empty words. He sat, listened, and let me pour out my heart. When I was too shaky to drive, he took me home. From that moment, Ben became my refuge. Ben carried his own scars. A decade earlier, he'd lost his wife and daughter in an accident. That loss made him cherish my girls fiercely. Emily, so guarded after the divorce, warmed to him first. Within a year, she called him Dad. Gabby followed, her voice chirping Daddy Ben over breakfast. My heart melted when Ben's eyes teared up. He treated them as his own, building forts with Gabby, helping Emily with homework, showing up in ways their father never did. A year later, we welcomed our son, a miracle who bound us together. When Ben proposed, Emily insisted on being a bridesmaid, and Gabby begged to be the flower girl, twirling in her imaginary dress. We planned a wedding, dreaming of a day we'd stand as a family, whole again. But happiness wasn't easy. The wedding was set for a Tuesday, my ex's custody day. At first, he agreed Gabby could participate, and I felt a flicker of peace. Weeks before the day, he changed his mind. "I'm not giving up my time for a party," he said. I offered to swap days. He refused. Emily came home furious, saying he'd lied to Gabby about a vacation on the wedding day. I was livid. I confronted him at his house, demanding the truth. He admitted there was no trip, he just didn't want Gabby at my wedding. She broke down, running to Ben for comfort. In a rage, he grabbed her, shook her, and called her a brat. I slapped him, something I'd never done. He raised his hand to strike back, but Ben caught his wrist. We left with Gabby, shaken but safe, as it was my custody time. That night, Emily shattered me with the truth. Since I'd started dating Ben, their father had turned cruel. He forced them to call his new wife Mom, lashed out when Gabby said Daddy Ben, and pressured them to reject our new family. Emily went to his house to protect Gabby, carrying that burden alone. I was stunned, ashamed. I hadn't seen their pain. Gabby barely spoke that weekend. Clinging to Ben, I started documenting everything: dates, times, incidents. But when Monday came, Gabby begged to stay. I had no choice but to watch him pull her inside. Emily whispered she'd keep protecting her sister. That week, Emily sent updates. He isolated Gabby at meals, ignored her at dinner, even threw away her flower girl dress, claiming it took up space. Gabby cried herself to sleep. I called lawyers, desperate, but they said one incident wasn't enough. I kept recording every text, photo, and video Emily sent. One night, she called from the bathroom, whispering that he was yelling at Gabby over small mistakes. She'd recorded it. Watching those videos, my heart broke as Gabby flinched at his words. I met a new lawyer, Mr. Rodriguez, who gave me hope. He said the videos and Gabby's exclusion from the wedding could prove emotional manipulation. When I picked up the girls that Friday, Gabby looked drained. My ex smirked, saying he'd signed her up for a day camp on the wedding day. I reminded him of our agreement. He shrugged. In the car, Gabby sobbed, thinking she'd missed the wedding. Ben made her favorite dinner to comfort her, but the air was heavy. I contacted my main lawyer, Mrs. Chun, and kept gathering evidence: Emily's videos, texts, a photo of the discarded dress, her written accounts. Mr. Rodriguez said we had enough for an emergency hearing. As the wedding neared, my ex kept pushing. He enrolled Gabby in a mandatory swim lesson during the ceremony. Mrs. Chun shut it down. The night before, I barely slept, fearing something would go wrong. The wedding morning dawned clear. Gabby glowed in her flower girl dress. But as we prepared to leave, my ex texted, demanding to see her at the venue. We brought her in through a back entrance. My mom, Emily, and I faced him outside. Emily boldly said he was why. Gabby cried at night. Ben stood quietly, ready to protect us. The venue coordinator told him to sit or leave. He backed down. Gabby never knew. The wedding was a dream. Gabby scattered petals, her eyes shining. Emily stood by me, tears in her eyes. As Ben and I exchanged vows, I felt love not just for him, but for our whole family. At the reception, Gabby danced on Ben's shoes, laughing. My ex's wife quietly told me she'd booked a divorce lawyer, seeking her own escape from his control. That night, Gabby fell asleep in Ben's arms, still in her flower girl dress. The fight didn't end there. My ex grew harsher, punishing Gabby for her joy at the wedding. Emily kept documenting. 3 weeks later, his wife filed for divorce, and he blamed me. He became erratic pickups, missed handoffs, hostile texts. Gabby came home crying after he told her any custody change would be her fault for loving Ben. I held her, promising she wasn't to blame for loving someone. Mrs. Chun suggested a guardian ad litem. At the next hearing, Emily testified bravely. Gabby's guardian, Miss Martinez, said she felt unsafe at her dad's. I presented our evidence: videos, texts, and Gabby's emotional changes. My ex offered flimsy excuses, claiming the dress was donated, then too small, then inappropriate. The judge, an older woman with kind eyes, saw through him. She granted me primary custody, limiting him to 4-hour supervised visits every other week, with mandatory therapy and anger management. After the ruling, Gabby's anxiety, she laughed again, her nightmares dwindling. Emily could finally be a teenager, not her sister's protector. Ben adopted Emily, and she proudly hyphenated her last name. My ex, after months of therapy, calmed down. His visits with Gabby stabilized, and she maintained a limited but healthy bond with him. We took a delayed family honeymoon. Gabby collected seashells to show her dad, not with fear, but with pride. Now, as she prepares for middle school, Gabby is confident and loved. Our family isn't perfect, but it's filled with love built from wounds, resilience, and the belief that happiness can always be